Serigne.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Serigne, actually, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll be serious.
I'll do.
Let's go.
Can you give me back? Hi, Serigne.
Hi, Barbara.
You're doing great.
I'm doing good.
So I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
And one is about ESG and LOOKA's social footprint. Okay. So with 50K panel members across Africa, how does LOOKA ensure this which translates into real value for the communities it researches?
Okay. I mean, on that standpoint, when you look at it, we have like a Pan-African vision of how to do things, but we also want to make sure it's localized. So when you look at it, for it to be localized, there's a couple of things that you need to take into account, which is authenticity of the data that we try to get from those participants. So essentially, by using our network of humans, which are our surveyors, especially for those people who are not mostly reachable online, we use our surveyors to be able to collect the data that we need from those people. But one thing that's very important is the localization of it. And what does that mean? That means that we're not taking people from, for example, Nairobi to take them to Kisumu. We're actually taking the people who live in those areas, one, because they understand everything that's around nuance. They actually understand the context. They're able to speak in the languages that people need to. And one, in the authenticity of data, there's already that part that comes to it. But really, when you look at it, there's also other things that come into it, which means, one, there's no more transport issues. So that means carbon emissions is not a problem. It means it also brings down the cost of the research. So what that does in essence, it just makes it a lot more accessible, both in terms of a cost problem for the companies that we work with, but also that the people who are actually trying to reach you are actually heard in the right way.
All right. And for the inclusion problem, research has, for the longest time, excluded informal workers, under-researched the low literacy areas and remote communities. So how significant is this gap when it comes to Africa, where, there are very many gaps in different areas? Some guys don't get the visibility. And why has traditional research struggled to close this gap in particular?
Well, I guess if we're going to the first part of it in terms of the importance, I think just by default, the people who actually have the biggest issues are the ones that have been underserved. And even when you look at it just from like an economics perspective, most of the bigger companies on the African continent are those who have been able to reach that part of the population. So I think there's a big importance in being able to reach them. And the problem that has been with traditional research is, I think a couple of things. I think we've copy-pasted a lot of methodologies that work in Western countries, in the Western world, which I think doesn't really fit the African context because it's a fragmented place. Operations is very hard, so you actually need to be able to, create very efficient systems and frameworks that not only adapts to the current context, but also makes it such that you don't come into the different problems that you might come into in the general space. So I think in terms of that, and what we're trying to do is, being able to implement much more innovative solutions that are not just what other people have done, but really making sure that it fits the needs of those people so that we actually are able to hear from the people who have the biggest issues, and hopefully the other businesses and organizations that will be trying to develop solutions and products will actually fit the needs of those people and help advance the African continent as a whole.
Wow, lovely. So LOOKA has recently launched an AI tool, Kaloo AI. And now that brings me to the question, how is this tool going to reshape who can participate in research and strengthening the quality and inclusive of the insights delivered by this AI?
Yeah, to go back to the origin and what Kaloo AI is. So Kaloo AI is essentially AI moderator that allows for organizations to be able to do a lot more faster paced qualitative research than what is done currently. The reason why we came about that idea was that after working on recruiting, data collection, qualitative studies with multiple types of clients, that there was still this big gap that has been kind of fulfilled within the quantitative part of research with surveys that, low cost research that could be at scale. But that's something that we're still having an issue having with qualitative research as it was currently done. And the whole point of the moderator is to be able to help work with that. And how AI comes into it, of course, is not replacing necessarily what the humans are doing, but it's really adding this, the part of automation and power and speed that comes with AI. So helping companies to be able to get feedback a lot more quicker, which means that research can now be integrated a lot more easier into their workflows and life cycles. And then at the same time, it helps that they now are able to make decisions, at least based on some sort of feedback that they can get.
Right, that's great. And how does AI impact the cost of research for agencies? Does it make it any more cheaper, expensive, or is the cost the same?
Well, in certain parts, it does make the cost a lot more affordable. Just that it's not necessarily going to replace what they always do, but it's more of, it helps a lot with streamlining operations. Because when you're able to streamline your operations, you're a lot more efficient, which means that a lot of the cost that would come from errors, mistakes, or just, I guess, extremely long length of projects would reduce in that sense. But what it really does, and I think that's the most underrated part, it's a lot of value added that comes into it. So now you're able to offer more services to your clients to a certain extent. You're also able to complete things at a faster pace, which means that you can now sell more iterative research to your clients. So you really become, I guess, a lot more efficient in what you do, but you're also giving much more value to your clients and to the projects that you're working on that you could have done before.
Okay, that's very great. So on this last one, it's rather broad. So LOOKA is already using AI-powered research to change products and social causes, right? So how can African businesses tap into AI-powered research to boost their efforts?
Yeah, well, I think usually something that's always spoken a lot about, which I think is kind of like a fallacy to a certain extent, is that you always have to choose between doing social good but also being more impactful on like the product side of things and on the execution. And the reality of it, I think it shouldn't be competing, it should actually be done at the same time. And one thing that AI powered research does, the way we do it, is not only it allows you to be more efficient, it allows you to be more faster in the research process, but it also allows you to be more inclusive. So as we combine AI with our network of humans and our current processes, I think what it does is it allows you now to be able to not only create products while you make money, but also making sure that you're actually, one, responding to the needs of the people, and also advancing society as a whole. And as we've seen from a lot of the successful companies, they're actually the people they actually manage to change the lives of the people that they're serving. And as you do that, actually what happens is, as a consequence, is that people are now going to be more willing to pay for the products or whatever services that you're offering.